Okay, my phone has been blowing up with messages and alerts and notifications from people asking me questions, as well as news feeds talking about these new vehicles, these new off-road vehicles that were just announced. They're from a company called Scout Motors, which if you're not familiar with them, well, no surprise. I'm not super familiar with them either. But apparently they just announced two new vehicles that are supposed to compete. One of them is supposed to compete with the Wrangler and Bronco, and the second one is supposed to compete with things like the Gladiator and Tacoma and other off-road, overland, outdoor vehicles. The kicker with Scout Motors, you probably haven't heard of them, is that they are electric, but not just electric. They're supposed to be very long-range electric, and they have an option for a gas motor, but not a gas motor that powers the drivetrain, one that actually charges the vehicle. So they're claiming, like, I don't know, hundreds of miles. We got to watch this video. So we've got this launch video here. I haven't watched it yet. I thought I would hop on my computer and find out more about these new rigs, these new vehicles that have just been announced, and watch the release video with you guys and give you guys my thoughts and reaction as we go. I've made a few videos of these in the past with like the Bronco and the Cybertruck and the new 392 Wranglers. You guys seem to be very interested in my opinion, and this is going to be my raw opinion. I haven't seen this at all yet, and I'm going to give you guys my honest feedback, thoughts, and reactions. The last International Scout, 1980. So there you go, history. Last Scout from International, 1980. I'm gonna turn this volume down in case we need to. I don't want to get hit with a strike here. So we get a first look at it here. So there's the SUV. It's an interesting color and looks very much like a modern version of the previous Scout that we just saw. And are we going to get a look at the truck? Because I think that's what's behind it here. We got like skid plates in the front. You know, if this is electric, obviously you don't need a big grille. Very modern looking LED lights. Hopefully that's not just a big, huge chunk of plastic sitting in the front there. It's actually metal, maybe to protect. I don't know what you'd be protecting. I guess there must be some electric drive motors in there somewhere. So look at that. So I don't know if this is going to have a removable top, but on the right here, on the orange one, we see sort of like the one-touch sky view top on the Jeeps, where the whole top rolls back. All right, let's skip over this copyright music. So we've got the Chief Design Officer here.
You know, it is such an honor, absolute honor to be here. Absolute honor.
It looks like a Bronco. Like the front kind of gives me a lot of Bronco vibes. Obviously, no Jeep vibes going on there with no round headlights, but that front feels much more like a Bronco. I'm not seeing any winches. I don't know if we have some recovery points on here or not. We'll have to wait and see.
These vehicles to all of you today.
But, you know, I'm just thinking about how complex it might be to mount a winch to the front of this.
Earlier today, I had the pleasure.
That's my first thought. First mod for any off-roading is adding a winch.
Her dad, Ted, was one of the original designers, and she was very emotional about being here, very emotional about what we're doing, and that is why we do it. Because being a startup is one thing, but being a startup with a rich and storied history and heritage is simply amazing.
How can you be a startup with a rich heritage and history? You basically either just bought the name to Scout or ripped them off. I can't really draw the correlation there.
And it doesn't exist anywhere else in the industry. But I'd like to introduce to you all the Traveler and the Terra.
Traveler and Terra. So the SUV, the Wrangler / Bronco, is called the Traveler, and it looks like the truck is called the Terra. I get that right? Traveler and Terra?
Scouts.
Yeah. So Terra's the truck, Traveler's SUV.
And we wanted to pull from that heritage and that history when we chose the names, even when we...
I wonder if these are actual releases or if these are more of concepts.
Shows the colors,
They look,
which I'll get to a
they
little
look
bit
like
later.
they could be
But even the
production
way
vehicles.
we show the name on the vehicle, you know, proudly debossed underneath the Scout logo on the back of both of them. First on the Traveler, as you see, and then next on the Terra, as you'll see in the next image. We wanted to make sure that the name was proudly displayed amongst the design, and that we really created something that pulled from the heritage and felt special.
Going for branding.
But from a
Okay.
design perspective, what do we mean when we create a Scout? We wanted to create something that was versatile. Versatile.
So definitely, you know,
multi-tool.
hitting the off-road space and the group, you know, enthusiast space here with all these scouts here in one
In fact,
image.
Well, we wanted to create something that was also a bold icon that really would stand out in the marketplace.
I'm gonna roll
Because it needs
forward.
to
I want to
have
know
that
more
presence on
about
road.
the specs
And then lastly, we wanted to create something
and everything
that was
about
helpful to
this.
because our vehicles should enable all of your activities and make them easier, faster, lighter.
Sure.
That's the whole point of the Scout. And we want to make sure that when we do that, we focus on the vehicles, their proportions, and how you make them bold. And you start out with our iconic proportions where all of the weight is shifted to the rear. Long dash to axle, very short
It
front
looks like from the side, it looks like the new Hummer EV.
overhang. And it really
But I'm digging
stands
it. I don't know. What do you guys think of this design? You know, I guess with it being an EV, they've pushed the front wheels all the way up to the front. They don't have to worry so much about where the motor sits and everything. Shifted the cabin rearward. I'm not sure what the benefit of that is, but we've got a nice, strong departure angle on the back here. Real tight approach angles on the front.
out, and it makes a bold impression. But moving from the side to the front, you then also see that you have these beautiful broad shoulders and that stand.
So it's got more of a Bronco type body. So where the Jeep has, you know, the fenders over top of the wheels and tires, that keeps your body narrower so that when you do get over something or through something, you know, you've got like a foot or more on each side of your actual body of your vehicle. So you don't have to worry so much about banging your doors, but it makes for a smaller interior where the Scout is like the Bronco where the body's pushed out all the way to the total width of the axles and wheels. I don't even know if this has axles, but the wheels, meaning you've got more going down the side to potentially bump into
Wheels
things.
out at the corners with the ground clearance really at the forefront of that presence.
So ground clearance, good looking ground
after-
clearance. Looks like we do have some hooks here on the front, so I'm assuming we can do some
When we
recoveries
look at
with
the
that.
proportion, we want to think about how we treat
Those mirrors look, if, if those are lights on the mirrors, they look extremely
Graphics on the
expensive if you
vehicles.
knock one off.
So the first thing you'll notice is that DLO graphic.
But at least they didn't skip too far, but at least they didn't mount them
Daylight opening.
awkwardly
It's
like
a
they did on the
designer term
Bronco.
that we use. But that daylight opening is very reminiscent of the Scout too, and we wanted to make sure we captured that. Contrasting that with the shoulder, that softness comes from the Scout 80, the beautiful form language. But then the graphics on the front, both front and rear.
You're still trying to take in the look and design of this. It doesn't look like a Jeep. I think it definitely looks like an updated Bronco. The Bronco's only been around for a few years, so.
Front mast and the rear mast are the proudest points of the vehicle, both coming and going. And the only thing that sticks out further than them are the bumpers that are meant for protection.
I like that. So they've thought of some off-road elements when designing this.
As we move around the vehicle, we want to make sure that we look at all of those elements. For example, starting with a DRL, this is very clean horizontal line that runs around the vehicle, almost
it.
like the equator.
Digging the
runs around
sharp
Earth.
daytime running lights and headlights
Really
on here.
cementing the vehicle and making it feel planted. We even
I feel like the truck looks a little bit boring compared to the SUV.
put the Scout logo off to the right because it's signed like a piece of art. This is our artwork as designers.
Let's get into some of the
And if we look at
specs
the
because
vehicle
I think that's
form
what really
image, we move
matters
around the
here.
side. We wanted to make sure that we captured that proportion and that it stood out in the crowd. If you look along the body side of the Traveler, you can see all of the focus is shifted rearward. There's only one.
Oh, look at that. First shot of the tire carrier. That is one stout looking tire carrier. I hope it's not just a big plastic shroud on there, but that's cool. We've got a tire carrier on the back, so that means potential full-size spares. I don't know what size tires these are, but they could be 35s. They look fairly large. But you'd have a hard time putting a larger tire on that spare there. But, you know, look at this. This is something I talked about with other EVs, the Rivian and the Cybertruck. So right here, you've got no pumpkin. You've got no differential underneath the vehicle, which is usually the lowest point because it's hanging down. So the whole ground clearance game really changes with EVs because now the lowest point is really just the belly of the vehicle. So do you need big 37-inch, 38-inch tires like we've been putting on Jeeps? Because really that just gets your differential up higher and out of the way. And now, you know, really with this, we don't have any of that.
And it really pulls the vehicle forward. That form language, the softness in the shoulders, all of that resolves in the rear. In the rear of the vehicle, we have another mask. It's another...
That's cool. Looks like we can mount some stuff onto the back here. Don't know what. Let's see if they've got some accessories.
We have the spare tire carrier as well.
Yeah.
And you can see from the execution of the spare tire carrier, it's beautifully integrated into that mask shape so that the graphic is undisturbed. But the treatment of the surfacing is tactile.
I think I'm really looking at more of the technical stuff, not the fancy stuff. But look at, see the hinge here on the side of the carrier. That is massive. Something that's
and it really
looks like it can hold some big weight on the back.
If you move from the Traveler over to the Terra,
it's going to take me a while to get the name. Traveler, Terra.
Is that we created a similar statement, but a little bolder.
So I'm guessing the spare tire is probably underneath here. What would be really cool is the Traveler tire carrier on the tailgate of the Terra.
On the rear.
That would be super cool.
It's really direct, as opposed to on the Traveler where it's indirect. And so it has a bold stance, a presence to it, like a truck should have. It should feel tough, robust.
Truck's got to be tough, right? Tough trucks.
As we rotate around to the side of the pickup truck,
we got recovery points on the back of both of these. I'm assuming these are recovery points. These, I don't know what you would call these, but these outcroppings on the bumper look like you could put a hook and line on there to pull it.
The form language, of course, is the same. It's got that soft, broad shoulder, but another little nod to the Scout 80. This little flick here on the back of the pickup truck bed. That
little flick.
Most people that don't know the Scout 80 wouldn't know
this little notch here. I wonder if it actually has some functionality to it.
We love it.
Oh, look at that. Okay, so it's actually, I wonder if this is like a grab bar that you can use to climb up. We've got a foothold down here by the tire, and that would be helpful for getting up into the bed. You've got a grab handle that you can pull yourself up into.
And we wanted to make sure that all of that essence from the historical vehicles was captured.
I wonder how big this truck is. I'm gonna have to go do some research after this reaction video, but I'm wondering if it's more of a small size truck like a Gladiator or Tacoma, or if it's more in like the F-150 full size Tundra space.
And as you resolve back to the front end, you can see the difference between the two. Although they are the same through the mask and the central area, the truck has a very tougher hood.
Looks the same to me.
Is slightly different, and even the bumper treatment.
I don't know what makes that hood tougher.
To create those unique personalities between the two vehicles.
Similar to each other.
But as you move through all of the detail,
I don't know. Do we have a bigger, like more fender arch going on in the truck than the? Was it the Terra and the?
That we wanted to focus on that functional, tactile representation of design, making sure that even with the lighting elements, that they felt like mechanical elements inspired by.
I really want to get to some more of the specifications than just the styling.
And reappears in the body is a nod to where the side markers are on the old Scouts. You know, really picking up that character, but treating it in a new and fresh way.
We got it. You guys tried to design this to be like the old Scout for your startup and the heritage behind it.
Scott is an avid client.
There we go. So there's a closer look at these recovery points. So it looks like we have a full hook as well as Maybe we could put a D-ring
So we
shackle in
made
there.
sure that the hole in the hook would fit a climbing rope.
A
To make
Oh, a climbing rope. What do you use this for? Putting at the top of where you're going climbing and rappel
that
down?
people could really
That's
make
a
sure
really
people could
quirky
use it
feature.
the way it was meant to.
Use the truck
And
to go
even
climbing.
going over the rest of the vehicle, for example, the clamps on the hood allows you to tie down items if you have them on the hood or on the roof.
I think,
allows you to
let's be honest, you probably have them because Jeep and Broncos have them.
really carry the goods you want to when you
Who
want to.
ties stuff
and do
down to the
things that
hood
you
with
need to.
those?
Looking at the pickup truck.
There's a closer
as
look
well,
at the little
as you see on the
side
screen,
step on the
we've got that
box.
Side step with the grab handle,
grab
so
handle.
easy access into the bed from the side.
I like that. That's a
not-
cool
not only
feature.
from the front.
Super unique.
And we wanted to make sure that
The only thing though is that's going to make putting caps on a lot more challenging. So if you put a cap on, you've got that hole where the handle goes. How is the cap going to seal when you've got a big handle right there?
treated the truck.
I guess no, you'd have the cap with the front on. I'm crazy. But, you know, it's not going to be as smoothly integrated.
like a true truck. So you see the separation in the bed,
Ooh, is that LED lighting all in the bed from the
Body
front to
on
the back?
frame,
Or is that just
tough.
a reflection?
badass, and ready for action.
I wonder if the bed and the body move independently of each other.
And the full 5.5 foot bed.
5.5 foot bed, so you just said 5.5 foot bed. So gives you a bit of perspective on size. That's the same size as like a Gladiator, for instance.
Anything you want to put in it. We wanted to make sure that
I don't know if you can put
customers
anything in a
use it,
5.5
haul their
foot bed.
goods, hang out with their friends, have a good time, do the things that they enjoy the most with something that is truly
Wonder how long
usable
till
and functional.
these are going to be out.
Now stepping away from the exterior for a minute, put your attention
Ooh.
to the screens.
Wow. Okay, there's a look at the interior. That's interesting. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that an 8-sided steering wheel? Look at the pedals. Maybe we'll get a closer look at these, but that is a massive looking pedal down there. Very, very modern, futuristic looking dash. Huge screen. I like that we've got a gauge cluster here in front of the steering wheel, not just looking at the center for your gauges and information. This is an interesting take on the steering wheel. So it's 8-sided. It's got a real throwback feel, and especially with the way they've done the two-tone on the steering wheel, it makes it look skinny and narrow like you would in old vehicles, the old plastic steering wheel from the 70s and 80s. But then it's got a leather stitching on the inside, so it's probably a fat steering wheel, which feels much more
On
modern
the
and
interior
comfortable.
side, we wanted to create something that was iconic as well. Something
It's
that
definitely
was bold.
different.
So what we did was
It's definitely
look
different.
at the heritage as well.
Oh, I just saw something and I want to go back. Look at that. They have a physical compass up top. That's unique. That's super cool.
bold.
I wonder if it's electronically
we did
controlled or
was
it's actually,
Look at
working with
heritage
the
as well.
Earth's magnetism.
And the Scout 2 had this beautiful brow, very simple and clean with a deep undercut. And we wanted to capture that width and have two simple lines, the upper and lower, that
There's a look at that compass again.
capture the screens in the middle.
I like the knobs on
And then that deep
the
undercut that you see
stereo
from the Scout
control
2,
and HVAC
we
control,
captured
just
it,
the
and we allowed
metal-looking
ourselves to take it to
round
another level
knobs
by having that
and these
grab bar at the
buttons
bottom
and
area,
stuff,
which allows you
especially
to
touchscreen
grab on
buttons.
when you're off-roading or stand an iPad up in there
Okay.
or whatever you want to use it.
So there's like a slot here in the dash that you
For.
can put some stuff
But it
in,
really organizes
lean it
space
backwards.
and allows you to see the technology in a very clean and clear way. And if you look at this image as it's zoomed out, you can see it's a very clean and simple.
Looks like we've got some overhead switches, which is nice. Some upfitter switches, I'm assuming up top here. A lot of stuff I'm saying is just assumptions based on what I'm seeing and kind of giving you guys my thoughts. But I'm guessing that's some
Cool.
place to put some
Interior.
auxiliary
The
stuff.
materials really come through. The shapes come through.
Mm-hmm.
What you'll also notice,
Looks like we have dual materials here on the seats. Nice thick bolsters, probably leather on the lower and some
is that
fabric
there are
up
buttons in
top.
there.
You say there's buttons in there? We actually got buttons.
Why do we put buttons in there?
Because they're easy to use when you have gloves on and stuff like that. Easy to
Because
find.
people don't want to adjust their volume on the screen.
No, you're right. I agree.
And they also don't want to adjust their temperature on the screen. So the easy things that you want to do,
Agreed.
adjust your temperature, turn the radio down, whatever you want to do, it's right there in hardware at your fingertip.
I'm digging these retro buttons on the sides, or these knobs.
And we created
I'm trying to decide what I think about this interior. It's sparse, it's modern, but it's definitely got a lot of
beautiful
retro
combination
feel. It
between
feels
the
like a
technology and the screens.
retro radio or something like that.
and the hardware in front of you. But we've treated them in a very tactile and mechanical way. So you even see the knobs on the steering wheel are beefy, tough, ready for action. The console as well. We took the liberty of pushing further than anyone would expect. And on the console, we did some cool things. We created
So we got some cup holders. Let's hear what they got to
a
say.
multi-tool, and we have storage in there that is unlike other vehicles. You can see in this image, the mat in the top has a little nod to plaid in it, actually. So the rubber is actually fashioned in the shape of plaid. And so it's kind of a reimagining our heritage.
Okay.
And just to close up on the buttons again, to
wanna
show you
wanna
how
see the
tactile
interior
and
again.
functional they feel. There's that one bank of buttons in the center for the HVAC control anyone would expect.
So
And on the
let's
console,
just
we
go back
did
to
some cool
this
things.
interior.
We created
So we got cup holders, we got storage, we got phone holders. I wonder if these are wirelessly charging. That would be super cool. That's super convenient to just slot your phone in next to you like that.
a multi-tool, and we have storage in there that is unlike other vehicles. You can see in this image the mat
You could see on the right all the,
top.
they look like
Has a little
toggle
nod
switches
to-
up and
to
down,
plaid,
not even just
actually.
push buttons, but like
So the rubber
switches.
is actually fashioned in the shape of plaid, and so it's kind of a reimagining our heritage. And just to close up on the buttons again, to show you how tactile and functional they feel, there's that one bank of buttons in the center for the HVAC controls, the
There we go, there's
overhead
a
as
close
well.
look. Oh, you're going through these images really quickly.
The overhead
So we got nice, huge, these knobs. They look like they might actually be plastic, but we've got some push buttons, not even push in buttons, but like push down buttons.
as well has one
There's
bank.
that cool compass again. That's a cool feature. Okay, so we get a better look at these buttons up top. These don't look like they're auxiliary switches, but it looks like front locker, rear locker, sway bar, and possibly traction control up top.
Of buttons for the off-road controls, and
Yeah,
we even put
off-road
a
controls.
manual compass in there,
That's super cool.
because why not?
What? I'm digging that.
And it's more fun. We wanted to make sure that we push the limits,
I think that might be one of my
how
favorite
the
features
vehicle
I've
is
seen in a
used.
new vehicle lately.
even having a pull-out tray on the instrument panel just below the bar,
Oh,
where you can keep your cool Scout binoculars if you want, or your
we've got
laptop, or
a
whatever it is.
pull-out
when you're
tray. It's like an airplane tray that you can pull out
Sitting,
in your
enjoying
passenger
your family,
seat.
off to
Look at
the
that.
side, and then looking at the rest of the space and how we explore that, how we create that versatile multi-tool. The console having multi-tiered storage, small.
So we do have dual wireless charging. That's slick. Oh, refrigerated cool box under armrest. So in the middle there, it's actually refrigerated. Rear climate, that's pretty standard. Lower storage with cord management. Yeah, and they've got some knee rests on the side. That's one thing in the Jeep. They don't have any padding next to your knees, and my knees always
Older tray
bang
on
in
top,
the center console area.
bigger tray at the bottom, a refrigerated cool box, double.
I wonder if that's an
wireless
option that you
chargers,
have to add
and
for
more.
some ridiculous
And
price.
if you decide that you don't want to have a console, but you want to have one more of your friends,
Oh, no way! A full front bench seat. Okay,
got
that's
two distinct
super
personalities.
cool.
so in the Terra,
Less utility, but that's... I don't know the last vehicle that I've seen with a full front bench seat.
we offer, actually in both we will offer, but it's shown in the Terra today, a bench seat. And not what you would expect in a work truck, in a base truck that no one wants to buy, but one that has great equipment, amazing technology, and the bench seat as an option. Because if you want to have
Option,
more
it's not the
friends,
low model.
you should be able to have
you
more
can
friends.
add, you can pay more.
And if you're a dog
That's what they're
lover,
saying. You can
it's
pay
gonna be your
more
dog's
to
favorite
get that
seat.
bench seat. I like it. That's super cool.
In this other image, you get a very good overview of the Terra interior, where we've
There's
really
another look
captured
at the Terra. So look at these mats. These are even like retro mats. We got a wood or faux wood, fake wood dash.
some cool things. Even in the bench seat, we have the perforation in there, creating a plaid pattern. So we're not doing it in the obvious ways that one would expect.
Looks like an
but we're
old
doing it in
truck
cool,
with a
clever,
modern
ways.
touch.
Thinking of the heritage, respecting it, and pulling from that to create something new and fresh.
I don't know if I like the way the two-tone seats are. I don't know, maybe it's just the color. It seems like caramel and white.
Even thinking of the way you experience the vehicle at
But
night.
they definitely look more comfortable than the
goes
bench
down,
seat, but you got to give it
making
to
sure
the
that
novelty of
warmth
the
and
bench
lighting
seat.
inside can glow in the space, just like a campfire lights up the circle around you and your friends.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Thinking
The
of all those
lighting.
elements, and especially from the color and material side, as I mentioned. You know, looking.
Yeah, so yes, we even have a knob on the side, like an Apple Watch. We've got a knob on the side of the display here. I wonder if that has
heritage
some
reimagined.
configuration.
Looking at expressive color, for example, as you can see here,
Yeah.
and authenticity in materials, pushing the limits on what is acceptable in the automotive industry. We start with the exterior. Even the colors on these two vehicles are inspired by the first Scout ever made,
Okay, we need to skip
Scout
past
80, which was
more
blue.
of this inspiration
We made
stuff.
it a little more modern, matte finish, of course, because it looks cool. And we wanted to keep that hue.
I would say the SUV looks more like its historical predecessor than the truck does.
And then the Traveler, inspired
Traveler
by,
and Terra. I'm going to get
the
those
first-
names
the
maybe
last
by the end of
Scout
this
ever made.
video.
and that was Tahitian red. So a play on that, pulling that color through, and you can see the resemblance between them. It's something that our team had so much fun with. I mean, we were out in the parking lot today, and Eileen was given an original paint booklet from Scout, and she couldn't have been more excited. These are the things that are so meaningful to us as a design team.
I really want to
Because
talk
we're so
about the
interested,
tech
we're so much
specs,
about
guys. I want to see
why
how
we did
good
that.
this is going to be
The interior,
off-road
we've
and
got different
range
shapes.
and
This one,
EV
for example,
and
I
gas
played
and
with
all that
this rich
stuff.
leather that is worn, has natural scars and nicks in it, but we're embracing that, you know, for higher
I
utilization.
don't want to
and
skip
character
too
of the
far in
vehicle.
the video. I'm just
And
kind
then
of
looking
playing
on
at
the other side,
2x.
at the Terra, you know, capturing this canyon theme, and using something like
Look at
hemp
this wood grain. That is,
wood on the instrument panel in the doors.
that's cool.
That really pushes the limit.
Huh.
Hempwood is
Hemp
very
wood.
sustainable.
So I said hemp wood,
easily
so it's a
renewable,
sustainable
and actually the
material, I
pieces
guess.
that are coming off of that hempwood as scrap are used to power the machine that creates the parts. So it's 100% 360 degrees sustainable. So thinking about cool things like that aren't just sustainable for sustainability's sake, but something that is meaningful and really does mean something to people using it. And then the customer experience. We call it the community UX. As you can see in these images, you see lots of buttons. You saw the screens for a moment. You see the dial on the screen.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that the community UX was a system that was easily
Community
usable.
UX.
You can swap the interface back and forth between driver and passenger. So it allows you to have that experience no matter where you are in the vehicle.
Not quite sure what
And
they're
that
trying to
dial on
articulate
the side
here.
of the screen.
Oh, there's the dial. He's going to talk about this dial on the side, but it probably has some relation to the one on the steering wheel.
Well, that's the volume knob
Oh,
for the passengers.
the volume
Or the
knob for the
middle seat person.
passengers.
Because the driver's volume control is right on the steering wheel. So really creating something that
I don't know if I like that. If that's, you only have to have the control on the steering wheel or out of reach of the driver.
is a community experience for everyone in the vehicle. It's open, it's light, and it really cements the idea of the connection machine. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're building a community, we're building a connection between ourselves, our customers,
Yeah,
and
let's
everyone
get
else
to
out
the,
there. And the design part,
real
that is,
specs
for us,
here.
magical, right? But of course, our engineering colleagues are here today, our development colleagues are here. They've done amazing things too to put function into the vehicle, and Scott's gonna tell you about that. Sure. Thanks, man.
all right, function, engineering.
A couple things. First of all, just to clarify, I am not an engineer, so I want to get that clarified right
get
off
the
the bat.
not
I didn't look at
engineer.
Chris. He's a brilliant designer. He's also a very kind and generous person, and I love working with him. I love having him as a friend. And look, as you know, when companies start out, you have to posture
I
yourself
feel
and
like
make
they're
yourself
kind of
look big.
stretching
So,
this
he came from
release out a little bit
giant
longer than it
company,
needs
and I
to
think
be.
Chris might have had more company cars than we had employees at the time of Scout. So of course, when we were discussing it, he was asking, where's the design studio and where's the software and all this, and we had nothing, absolutely nothing. I was in a WeWork office holding that. So much of these cars were designed, and Chris, you're in your basement, I was in a WeWork, and when we go. So magical things happen. So thank you, Chris. Awesome stuff.
Thanks for that.
Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. I think everyone's saying company sounds cool, design looks pretty cool. Have we properly kitted this thing out, or have we compromised this thing? So this is where we're going to get to some of the goods about this machine that we are building. So I think first and foremost, it's relatively straightforward. The first thing we had to do was make this thing a proper, no-joke Scout. And I think in many regards, we've absolutely done that. If you look at the foundation, if you will, of this vehicle, you know, the foundation, obviously,
really
frame
wanna-
construction, high performance,
All right,
galvanized.
there we go. Some interesting information. Finally, we're only half an hour into this. So we've got a full frame along the bottom, but check out some of these specs. So steel frame, great. 10,000 pound towing for the Terra projected, so not tested yet, I guess, projected, but the Terra is going to be longer. Often the wheelbase is the limiter with the towing capability. Traveler, 7,000 pounds. So that's as much as a Jeep Gladiator, and that's as much as a half-ton truck or some half-ton trucks with 2,000 pound projected
Terra towing,
payload.
10,000 pounds, Traveler, 7,000 pounds.
Pretty
payload,
solid.
2,000 pounds. Now, I know you all love your Terras from back in the day, but these numbers might be significantly better than what they had back then.
It could be even higher. It says plus.
And I
It
think
could
if
be
you look at
more
it,
than that.
obviously 100%.
All right, here's some real specs out on some rocks doing rock crawling. Projected up to 100% gradability. Projected torque 1,000 pounds, 3.5 seconds 0 to 60. So it's got a solid rear axle. Okay.
Gradability, projected torque, 1,000 pound-feet, 0 to 60 as quick as 3.5
Gonna haul
seconds.
until I put all my overland
Solid
junk in it.
Rear axle on this vehicle, front and rear mechanical differentials on this thing.
All right, so it's got differentials. So I want to know
So
more
again,
about the drivetrain
A
system.
proper Scout.
Yeah,
Now, if you look at what it's going to be capable of, obviously weighting depth 3 feet, ground
3
clearance,
feet weighting
sway
depth.
bar disconnect, 35-inch
so it's good for water. 3 feet weighting depth. That's, you know, a 36-inch tire. That's, well, 36, slightly larger than the tires. So if these are 35s, let's just say they're 35s on here, then you're going to be able to go to the top of those tires in water. If these are 33s, you're going to be able to go.
Tires capable, potentially, let's see, of going even bigger. And it's
Oh, okay, here we go. Hang
differentials
on.
on this thing.
I'm talking while they're talking.
Proper Scout.
So listen, here, just
Now,
talked
if you
about
look
the
at what
tires.
it's going to be capable of, obviously weighting depth 3 feet,
3
ground
feet.
clearance,
Yeah.
sway bar disconnect, 35-inch tires.
35-inch tires. So these are 35-inch tires. So you can drive this thing in the water just slightly higher than the tops of the
Capable,
tires.
potentially, let's see, of going even bigger, and a suspension.
Potentially of going bigger. I wonder if they'll do a 37. Interesting. So projected ground clearance over 1 foot. That is a lot of ground clearance. Air springs with air dampening.
And obviously tuned on-road, off-road,
Yeah.
air spring as well.
35
I
inch
think the
from the
final point
factory.
on making this thing a count is our philosophy. Somehow, when the world got digital,
Whoa, did we just see the tailgate open there in that picture? Hang on, let me pause that.
like open a car door, like turn a knob, like tires capable,
Hang on.
potentially, let's see, of going even
I'm
bigger.
gonna pause
And
that
a
real.
suspension, obviously tuned on-road, off-road, air spring as well. I think the final point on making this thing a count is our philosophy.
Like, okay. Oh, that's the Terra? I'm gonna get the names of these. That's the SUV. It looks like how it opens off to the side. I thought that was gonna be a
Somehow,
tailgate
when the
opening.
world got digitized, I promise you,
tailgate opening
Americans
sideways.
have not forgotten how to do things, like open a car door, like turn a knob, like pull a switch. So I promised you all sorts of functionality to let Americans stay functional and keep doing things
What a
themselves.
Americanism in
Is having
this
AI
video.
take over
What about us in
everything
Canada up here to
that's
the
out
north?
there in this vehicle.
What about what we care about?
So now, hopefully, you see the credibility, but of course, we would be naive to miss the moment and not make a tool for today. So when we say a tool for today, what exactly is it capable of? I think let's talk about utility. Obviously, the
5.5 foot bed,
Go,
120
5.5.
volt outlets, 240 volt outlets.
foot pickup bed, two 120 volt outlets, 240 volt outlet, and again,
That's great. I wonder how many watts they actually put out, because that's usually the thing that I'm looking at. But you can see these are in the bed. So you've got two 120 volts in the bed right here. And right below it, we've got the 240 volts. And then we've got some sort of, looks like bed system that you can attach stuff to.
2,000 pound payload in the pickup truck.
2,000
If you swing it
pounds,
around
that's a lot. You
to
could
the
put a big
front,
camper in
or
there.
the front of the vehicles, again,
Oh yeah, we've got a frunk. I didn't even thought of that. So that's super cool with the truck version. I mean, without a cap or a tonneau cover, you don't have a lot of secure storage outside of the cab of a truck. But with no engine, you've got a frunk. So we've got a huge frunk in here. Gives you some perspective. Golf clubs and a cooler. You could put. How cool would that be to put a fridge? You know, your overland fridge in the front.
again, golf clubs, gym bag, cooler, 120 volt, slide out seating.
More
and of
power
course,
in the front,
flexible storage
more
as well.
120
So this
volt
is a
power in the front.
highly flexible machine. Now, of course, the tool for today needs power. Power is important to keep these things moving.
talk about
And of
power.
course, all Scouts will be standard with NACS, North American Charging Standard,
Okay.
bi-directional
Bi-directional.
charging on all vehicles, 800 volt vehicle architecture, projected 300.
350 miles of all electric range. That is a ton. Now that's projected. That's usually under optimal circumstances, but if that's projected with 35-inch off-road tires and ground clearance, that's pretty cool.
150 miles EV range.
And what, we can plug stuff into the side of this? So if you need to plug your, yeah, look at this, Scout Equipment Power Station. So you're at camp and you need some power, just flip up your charging cover and plug into it.
On the Scout. So the power is proper. Let's talk a little bit about the architecture on this vehicle. Modern zonal architecture.
Not sure I care so
over-the-air
much about
updates,
this
remote
and
diagnostic.
over-the-air
Of course, this allows us to really
updates.
contribute to the lifetime customer value of this vehicle. I think another thing that's critical
Wonder if
to
the
make
remote diagnostics work when you're off grid.
tool for today is I think if you look at a lot of vehicles, frankly, they say it's our car as the OEM. You just happen to be sitting in our car. And I think that's not what we want to do. We want to make the Scout yours. So right from day one at launch, all accessories fully loaded in so you can make it your Scout.
All accessories fully loaded in from day
Whether it's
one.
racks, whether it's off-road bumpers, whether it's the skids,
Ooh.
whether it
Okay, so I guess they're saying there's going to be a whole pile of accessories that can be bought or added to this day one, and he just mentioned off-road bumper. So I'm going to make
the
an
wheels
assumption.
across the board.
Winch-capable
Huge
bumper.
Accessorization on this vehicle from day one.
They know the crowd, right? I mean, if they're going after the Jeep crowd, they know we like to mess around and modify our vehicles. Having aftermarket accessories out of the
To make
box,
it yours. We're just giving you the playground.
good idea.
to play
But
with.
I thought Bronco and Ford tried that and didn't go as well
And
as we
look,
thought it would.
We're also going to continue to play around with the vehicle. We know Scouts were super work vehicles, and we want to keep that alive, whether it's a plow or, of course, the hay bale that you see here. This is the type of world we want to create with Scout, a world where you can work, a world where you can play, and a world where you can enjoy yourself in between. And the final piece of making a proper Scout, of course, is this connection machine. The bench seat, as Chris mentioned, the user interface, which
Connection
offers
machine.
a community experience between who's ever sitting in the front of the vehicle, allows you to swip back and forth on this interface. Obviously, it's very Scout. Of course, we want to hang out in terms of what you can see on this
Yeah.
experience. And when we talk about the hangout, this is where we're talking about the split tailgate.
Yeah, they're definitely going after the Jeep and Bronco
And yes, we do want a split
Forerunner
tailgate.
crowd.
We want one 6.
So we've got a split tailgate. Okay, so the way the tailgate works is it looks like the swing out is for just the tire only, not the entire tailgate. You've got a drop down tailgate, which I like. That's super handy because now you've got just some more space to use when you've got your spare tire out of the way.
If you are here, this was sort of held out for you in this front. Accessory ready and fantastic, ready to go on that front. Cost us a little bit more money,
So
Sean.
that's more like well, I don't know what that's like because a Forerunner, the entire hatch goes up. A Bronco and a Jeep, the hatch and the spare tire goes to the side with the glass going up.
And so I'll be talking to you
This is
later
kind of like
on that front. But we'll
A little bit of everything.
And of course, the other thing we love is the open air and the cabana top. So proper fabric, you can see it here. in
The
this
cabana
vehicle.
top.
Super old school, super open, and also
Hopefully it
super
doesn't
easy and a great combination. Now
or
look, I
leak.
think it gives you a sense of what
I don't know
we're
if
up
I'd
to.
get that option. I
Obviously,
think
there's
I'd
a
skip
lot
that
more
option.
Technology and innovation in the vehicle.
I'd rather have
but I
a
think you
solid
see
top
we're building
because,
it.
if we're going to put things like rooftop tents and on it, hopefully they offer this in a solid top, not with glass either, just
Connection
hard
machine.
top.
We built a proper Scout, and it's a Scout that's going to be able to look for the future. But of course, I think as you know, these are complex times. Oftentimes, more complicated than they need to be. I think if you know anything about Scouts, of course, we tend to listen now and then, and we always try to listen. And I can remember wandering around Fort Wayne in the early days, looking at the Harvester Homecoming and walking by the old plant, and of course, speaking to a few of, let's say, the OGs of Scout, if you will, if I can call
Forward
you
a little
that.
bit more. I
And of
wanna
course,
know
there was
more
some
about
chirping
the power
this thing
plants.
called gasoline every
Here we
now
go.
and then.
Gasoline.
And of course, we see what's happening in the marketplace. And of course, many of you know the governor is a politician and a lawyer, but he's a keen insights on engineering as well. So we've had some conversations on this front. And
Are they going to talk about the helper motor, the generator?
Some of you are
one more thing.
Onto it, you can see
the
it on this
Apple-
vehicle.
the Apple
The
one
name's
more thing.
Harvester. Let's take a look at the video.
So I think they're going to talk about the gasoline helper generator motor here. I really hope they offer this in a full hardtop though. That would be a deal breaker on the Terra. So Harvester from Scout. Built-in gas-powered range extender projecting over 500 miles of range. So it looks like it sits in the back. I wonder what that's going to do for your cargo capacity, but you're not going to lose your frunk. But 500 miles of range. So I'm guessing after, so many miles, you can start charging your battery up. So the difference between like this type of range extender versus an actual hybrid is that there's no powertrain attached to the motor. So the motor can run at optimized RPMs for fuel efficiency and charging rates and just charge the battery. There's no parasitic power loss to a transmission, all that kind of stuff. It's just gonna charge the batteries. So you can see that in the back there. So you can refuel anywhere. Harvester. So that to me alleviates a huge issue with range anxiety, but also going into remote locations where you could potentially keep your vehicle more topped up and then fuel up at the last spot and then head out somewhere. So you're not arriving at the last charging location low on battery, having to wait forever to charge it up and then head out.
Thank you.
That is super smart.
So
I've been a huge proponent of like plug-in hybrid vehicles, not pure
Engineers,
EVs.
a ton
I'm
of
not
credit.
ready for a
They're
pure
work-
EV. Not up here in Canada, in remote regions, in the cold, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, they're
Not yet.
hardworking and they're capable of doing great things, and frankly, they are doing great things. Look, it speaks for itself. It's pretty straightforward. Projected
No compromised off-road characteristics.
range over 500 miles.
Yeah.
Make the battery a little bit smaller, fill that space
So
with a
they're-
gas tank.
So they're going to reduce some of the EV range. I don't know what that goes down to. Maybe they'll say, but they're dropping the EV range, but giving you a gasoline range extender. So you can go as far as you can on the electric motor, but then
And get the range.
Yeah, you
that
can
see
charge
there.
everything
I think
with the
there's
gas
a couple
motor.
critical points we want
Great
to make,
compromise.
which is crucial.
Good
First
compromise.
and foremost, with the range extender, it's still a Scout. All of that great ability, all of that capability, all of that ruggedness, nothing goes away when you get the range extender. I think
So
another
no
critical
change.
thing, it's still an EV. It's got the packaging of an EV. You still have the frunk, you still have all the packaging. The battery will drive both of the axles. Of course, the engine will power the battery.
Right, so there you
this
go.
gives
So
a proper
still
EV
EV.
experience with, of course, the generator. The third thing that's critical.
Let's think of it as a generator, like you just said. It's a generator, not really an
For us
engine
in
for
these
driving the
times,
vehicle.
Of course, is the future-proof. Makes the platform future-proof. It also, of course, makes the factory future-proof. We can ebb and flow and move from range extender to EV, EV to range extender, or, of course, Terra to Traveler. Now, the most important thing is, of course, the summary. The
summary.
opportunity, of course, is now.
Oh, we got some
to
prices.
reserve
Look at
or
that. Okay, so projected to start below $60,000 before incentives. So initial production targeted for 2027. So we've got a little bit of time. It's right now, if you're not watching this video when I released it, it's October 2024. So we've got maybe 2
these
years,
magnificent vehicles
maybe more
that you've
before we
seen
see
the
these.
capabilities. I won't be
It's
repetitive.
quite a ways out, and right about when I might be thinking about starting a new build.
These absolute dream machines, under $60,000 with state incentives, $50,000.
So starting, I wonder how much the options add up to. I don't know, what do you guys think? The truck, the Terra, or the Traveler? The truck or the SUV? I'm kind of digging the truck. Kind of digging the
Absolute
truck. Put a go fast camper on the back of that truck.
Magical dream
that'd be
machine
super
on this
cool.
front. So I want to humbly thank all the scouts and all the scouts to be across America for joining us here. Now, there's one final image which just sort of
hit me as we were preparing for the presentation.
Reserve now. So they're taking reservations. I'm going to go check out how much a reservation costs after this video.
And of course, you see it here. We took this shot about 2 days ago, or feels like 5 weeks ago, but I think it was just 2 days ago. And obviously a young boy there with his binoculars on looking out. And I think, look, first and foremost, you all
Sure
know
hope they have a solid
that
roof.
the original scouts, and most of the imagery that we see, they're navigating this brilliant
reserve
country
now.
in those original scouts.
$100
from the 80 to the 800 to the Scout 2.
$100.
I'm very proud.
So for $100, you can put your reservation in now. It's fully refundable until your order is confirmed. And I'm not sure if I can do one here in Canada. Oh, I can, and they're open to Canada. Thank you, Scout. Oh, but it's $150 Canadian.
That you're all here, and very proud that you kept this brand alive. But I think you
All
also
right.
know America
Well,
needs new scouts.
we're definitely
America needs scouts now.
going to be keeping an eye on this. Let's
And
make sure there's
young
nothing
boy
left here.
jumped in that machine, got up the cabana roof, and looked out into
I
the
think
future.
that's about
I
it.
said to myself, and he said to us, he's going to be a future scout. He's going
Well, what do you guys think? I'm going to put a deposit in because it's $150 and it's a couple years out, and I might be ready for something like this. But I definitely feel a lot better with this type of setup, with the range extender, the generator. That has been a huge issue with considering an EV for off-road. The Cybertruck and the Rivian just come up short in the remote regions of Canada, in the winters of Canada, in the cold weather. Just where I am, it just, to me, I can't connect the dots and make it work. But electric and gas with 500 miles of range in kilometers, that's probably like 800 kilometers of range. That is further than I ever go between fuel stops on any trips. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Really interested to see what's going on with Scout Motors and when these are going to land and how much the total price is going to be. I'll try to provide some coverage as it goes. And if you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button. My name's Casey, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.